Hey guys, Rispetto here. Today we're going to be looking at group composition for classic World of Warcraft raiding. This is for 40-man raids. The rules pretty much stay the same all the way throughout classic. Typically I would write up a long script and think about everything I want to say in depth before I go ahead and make it into a video, but today I thought I'd do things a little bit differently. Just kind of go by the seat of my pants, throw something together real quick for everyone who doesn't understand, how to make a group comp. Maybe you're looking to pug a molten core, maybe you're a new guild master looking to get things done. You're not sure where to start, what to look for. This is the video for you for sure. So I have some footage I'll be playing while I'm recording here. This is footage that I took earlier today. One of my guildies asked me to join a raid and help him put together a group composition for him because he wasn't sure what to do. I was saved on my main character, so I wasn't gonna actually attend the raid, but I figured I could join the group to help him, arrange the groups. That's why you'll see level 42 warrior in the raid. That's myself. I don't actually go to molten core with them. I'm just there to kind of help them out. So you'll see here, I'm not actually inviting anyone to the groups. That's actually someone else, the raid leader, Math Rob. He's inviting people. I'm just kind of in there reorganizing everyone. So let's pause for a second here. So just looking at what the group has, just entering the group, not really sure what's going on, just kind of look and see what's there. I've already kind of organized everything, kind of how I like to do it personally. When I actually first just joined the raid, everyone was just thrown about all through groups 1 through 4. There was no coherence, there was no semblance of organization. Everyone was just kind of in the group that they were in when they got invited. So I kind of changed things up a little bit and organized it how I like to do it personally. So we'll go through what that means exactly. So group 1 is usually the tank group. It can be any group you want, it doesn't really matter. I just like to use group 1. Group 2 is typically just kind of like a mashup of, it's like the holding place where I just kind of put people, or possibly a third melee group if there is one, which I'll get into soon. 3 and 4 are melee groups. 5 and 6 are ranged DPS groups, aka mage groups, and 7 and 8 are my healer groups. This is just the pattern I assume while I'm building the group. It'll actually change when we go to raid, and I'll explain exactly what that means and how I go about that in a moment here. So I enter the group and do a little bit of organizing, and you'll see throughout the footage here that he's actually inviting people. So just as a kind of quick note, the total number of each class you want is pretty straightforward, as shown by this image here. 8 warriors, 6 rogues, etc., all the way down. The one thing I don't agree with this composition is giving the nightfall to the hunters. I know that's actually a pretty common strat, and I don't agree with it. I'd rather give it to a ret paladin if you have one. If you don't have a ret paladin, give it to an off tank. They can just DPS, when they're not needed. But other than that, this is the comp that I typically use. You'll notice there are 12 healers, and very heavy on ranged DPS. So there's 13 total of mages and warlocks. Relatively high. A lot of mages like to complain about that. It's fine, let them. Rogues also like to complain. 6 rogues. Let them complain, that's fine. This is the comp that downs bosses. 8 warriors, that encompasses tanks and fury. So typically you'd have 3 tanks and 5 fury. But yeah, let's get back to the footage here. So group 1 is my tank group. So Kitty and Dairu are the main tanks. Typically you want to have 3 tanks, but of course myself, because I'm just kind of straggling. 3 tanks, Paladin and a Warlock. The Paladins you want to play strategically, because they give fire resistance auras. The Warlock does a stamina buff. But it's important to note that not every Warlock can do stamina buffs. So you have to find out which one of your warlocks is SM Ruin. That's the name of the spec. So you just whisper them, which I do actually at some point later on in the video. And looks like he's not in the raid currently, but there's, oh yeah, there he is there. Khmer, the warlock, and I believe Franchise. They're both SM Ruin. So I can put either one of those warlocks in the main tank group, and that'll be fine. But yeah, other than that, looks like there's a total of 8 healers in the group currently in the raid. It's pretty good. You want to have 10 to 12, especially for a pug. You kind of want to lean towards 12 because good healers can carry a raid. But just at first glance, he doesn't have enough mages. He needs more mages. He's pretty good on warlocks. He's got 4 warlocks. That's good. He's not going to have problems on Gar or on any banishing targets, but he needs more mages for sure. So he's got 2 groups of melee, and I believe he actually keeps inviting more melee. He ends up with a total of 3 groups. It's important to put one hunter and 1 warrior in each melee group. And you'll see throughout the video I'm constantly adjusting, the composition, making sure that they have one of each class. This is because warriors, they battle shout, which provides a buff, and hunters provide true shot, which is also very, very important. So I'm just going to skip ahead here. You'll see I start... Okay, so this is a good point to pause. So when I'm building the group, I like to put all the healers in 7 and 8. That's just so I can easily count how many we have total right at the get-go. One thing I did in this video I don't usually do is put, you can see here, Pig Zoo and Underlad. They're in groups 1 and 2. Usually to put them down here in group 8, and just from a quick glance I would know I have 9 healers. That's the only reason why I do it. When we go to actually, start heading towards a raid instance or whatever, and we're actually pulling bosses, I will spread out the healers the way that they should be grouped. I believe I start doing that pretty early on in the video. Typically you want to have 1 paladin in each group if you can for fire resistance aura, and you want to have definitely put paladins in melee if you can, if you have the ability, because melee tend to take a lot of raid wide fire damage, and it's really good if they have the resistance. And if you can, put a priest in each mage group, because priests have a prayer of healing, which is a group wide AoE heal. And yeah, you don't want to have all your priests clumped up into one group together where they can't maximize the effectiveness of prayer of healing. So I'll skip ahead here. So by this point he has enough melee to make 3 groups. So you notice I put a paladin in each group. He starts to invite some hunters later on. I believe he gets 2 or 3. You want to have 1 hunter, 1 warrior in each melee group. Skip ahead. So in this group they don't have a 3rd tank, so I just put a priest in there, prayer of healing. You never know. Typically you'd want to have a 3rd tank though. Fast forward towards the end when the comp is starting to be finished. Okay, so you'll notice here, just pause here. So Khmer is the SM Ruin Warlock I've designated to keeping stamina on the tanks. I whispered that Warlock. I told him what his role is. I said, look, you're the SM Ruin, you're the imp guy. Make sure he knows. If any good Warlock will know, that means micromanaging the imp, keeping it near the tanks, making sure they always have it, etc. And by this point in the video, he has a total of 3 hunters. So as you can see, there's I spread them out so that they're in different melee groups, and they all have at least 1 warrior. And in the mage groups, 1 priest each. And he had an extra paladin, so I tossed the mage as a bone, gave him a paladin. Fingertown the rogue in group 6, he shouldn't be there. He should be with the melee groups because he needs to capitalize on true shot aura and the warrior buff, so not sure why he's in there. I'll probably move him at some point. One thing that's important to remember when you're comprising the composition of the raid is just try to compartmentalize as best as you can. So focus on the tank group. What does the tanks need? They need a paladin. If you're horde, a totem for cleansing something. Then look at the melee. Does each melee group have a warrior? Does each melee group have a hunter? After that's done, then look at the ranged. Then look at sorting the healers into their appropriate groups. Try to compartmentalize everything, so that way it doesn't kind of just look like a giant blob to you, and you start to look at the finer details. Once you can do that, then you can really optimize your ability to sort the group in an effective way. So yeah, that's all I can really think of. If there's any questions, put them in the comments. I'll answer them as best I can. But other than that, thanks. Have a great night.